This episode of the Wrong Advice podcast is powered by Harlow, the only woman-owned lighting brand for photographers, videographers, filmmakers, and content creators. Designed for those who push creative boundaries, Harlow lights are compact, powerful, and built to inspire. Harlow creates tools that stand the test of time, crafted for those who see light as an art form. Harlow believes that your light can be bold, powerful, and beautiful, and that it deserves to be seen. Visit Harlow online at www.harlow.com or follow them on Instagram at Harlow Creators. Back to the Wrong Advice Podcast. I'm your host, John Pacino. I'm very excited to have the one and only Mr. Andrew VanWickler in with us today. Andrew, my friend, round number 2. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to be back. It was a lot of fun last time, and I'm really looking forward to continuing the conversation here with you.
Things have changed since the last time we spoke. I mean, they were changing quite a bit when we spoke last time, but I'm curious what's new in your life these days.
Yeah, so I mean, a little short recap of last time. Obviously, I came on. It was probably it maybe didn't sound like it, but it was about the lowest point of my life
It didn't sound that way.
I kind of came off of COVID, my dad's stroke, all this stuff, then my divorce over 2 years, and then losing the job. And I think I was on here, it was like less than a month after.
It was immediately after, yeah.
That. So it's like we got introduced and I came on here like right away. So I was trying to stay positive at that point, obviously, but a lot of ups and downs or whatever. So now this is about 6 months ago or so. I think it was around March or so when it came on. So yeah, right there. So now since then, I kind of continued a lot of the stuff with Harlow that we were talking about. Did a booth experience at Build, and then I got an opportunity to do a gallery show at Tamarkin Cameras, the Leica boutique over in Chicago. They were bringing in Harlow stuff. They wanted to do some photo walk, some experiences there with Harlow to show their consumers how to use it, and they'd asked me to do that. At the same time, Dan Tamarkin, who runs the store, was like, "Andrew, I love your work. Would you be interested in doing a gallery show for me here?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I mean, it's been my dream to do like a gallery show." The crazy part is, though, I didn't actually have a show planned. Usually you go to a gallery with your book plan and your show, and you're like, "Hey, this is my stuff. Take a look at it," and then you maybe iterate on what you're going to use, and they help curate it or whatever. He's like, "You got a show?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Y'all want to get one?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I had to really think about it, and I'm like, I went back a little bit. And as you know from the last conversation, I kind of, when my divorce was beginning, when my ex-wife had moved out, I started to look through the camera for a different perspective. And that was kind of a thing. I was shooting every day or editing every day and making a photo every single day. So for 2.5 years at this point, I've been making a photo every single day. So I was like, well, what if I did something around that, right? So I tried to think of it as I was trying to look through a different perspective, figure out what my focus is in life, and that's when it came to me with the name of Finding Focus for my gallery show. So then I started just kind of looking back, and I looked at the images that I was starring, making flagging as better images. Since I was thinking about it as Finding Focus, I started to look at it more as the street style photography, where I was doing kind of the shallow focus, Noctiluxy shots, or wide open if it was a Summilux or Summicron or whatever. It was all Leica, since it was a Leica boutique. I was trying to stay on
brand.
A brand with that. They're open to using other stuff in there, but I was like, I want to try and do it that way for their space. So I looked through it, and I found about 50 images that I really liked. And at that point, I was like, okay, cool. I found out the space had room for 20. I went to my close friend Paris Chong, who does the curation for LA for the Leica store, and asked her for help curating down for the space or whatever. And she was like, "Of course, I'd love to help you with this." So Paris and I got on. We're looking at all the images. I'm sitting there and I'm like, God, it's I'm figuring she's gonna look through these 50 and be like, yeah, there's 4 or 5. Go back to the drawing board and find me some that work. I was actually really honored. She picked 31 images, and I'm like, okay, this is more than I can actually fit in the space.
Great,
and she was like, no. She was like, I like these 31. You pick your 20 favorite of them and put those up there. So that was a really a big confidence boost for me, that somebody who does this, sells to big celebrities. It's she's as big as you get in the world of curating galleries. So so that was a really big honor for me. So then I went through, I kind of started writing my storyline. I'd been kind of writing these kind of quotes and just like anecdotes, like thoughts throughout the year, just in my notepad. And I decided at some point I'm going to put those in the. I decided I was going to do a book with this too.
Yeah, okay.
I forgot that part. But it was funny because this is maybe June, July. We decided the show would start first week in October, first Friday. And I'm like, oh, I want to try and do a book with this. Now it's like crazy to try and put a book out in 2 months.
Crazy.
But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Right at that point, I still don't have a job, right? So I have all the time in the world to do it. I'm still, though, kind of procrastinating because ups and downs, as you don't have a job, you're going through all of this stuff.
Pretty normal.
So I think it ended up a much tighter timeline than it should have been, considering. But I think by the kind of end of August, I had 20 pages or 20 images for the show, 20 images I was going to put in the book. Because I decided, even though I could have gone to the 31 and had the book separate, I was like, no, this is going to be like a book of the gallery space.
I like
because as I went through all of these anecdotes that I had in my notes, I found that it made a storyline, sort of, through here. And you'll see when you take a look at the book, but it was how I was finding my focus throughout the course of this 2.5 years. And people had asked me a lot during this, like when I curated the show, like why each image was in its space. And I kind of found everything worked in twos. And with that, I had these little blurbs of writing that I did over the course of that 2.5 years that just worked with them. Mm-hmm. So it kind of just found itself. I think I had a unique experience in that my background as a filmmaker and running a photo department at ABC, like I already was sequencing, storyboards,
for other people,
script writing, and then photo editing, sequencing at work on that. So like the mindset has already been there for me. I think a lot of photographers who don't do that, who just shoot one image, this is a much more difficult thing.
Totally.
In addition, putting a book together, my graphic design background made that a lot easier. I knew InDesign, I could put the stuff together.
Yeah.
So I was in a unique space to be like, I've already kind of done these sort of things, just not in this way. Mm-hmm. So I was able to do it in that kind of shortened timeline. But so anyway, I got this book together. I did all my prints, got to Tamarkin, had the opening, did the photo walk and all that. And about 2-3 weeks before the opening in Tamarkin, I had been going through some early interviews with a potential job at Adobe, and I got through the 6 interviews and a presentation there because they're very serious about
only 6, yeah.
About bringing in the right people for the jobs.
Sure.
And I think a lot of the tech companies are that way. The culture is so important to them, and I appreciate that. It really shows that they care about who's on the team.
Totally agree.
But once I got through that, I got the offer, and the funny part where like the world works in weird ways is like I'm like going in for my background check, and it takes about a week and a half, or whatever. And the background check passed the day of my opening and book release.
Ooh,
so like I had all these
timing.
things at the exact same time. So I was able to like go out to dinner after that and be like, okay, I'm celebrating all of these things happening in the exact same day.
When you have like kind of like those serendipitous kind of moments in life and like things kind of seemingly aligning at the right time, opportunities with work, with personal curation of your own projects, books, gallery shows, how do you look at that like unbiasedly and measure like how you are stacking up with where you thought you were going to be at this point in your life, like at a different point in your life? Because like for me, it's like whenever I have these opportunities to like check off monumental bucket lists, like creating a photo book, having a gallery show, getting a new job, it's like very easy for me to just be like, oh, this is normal, like this is fine. And I don't think I really measure the wins. So I'm like, for you, I'm curious, like how do you do that?
So I think we talked about this a little bit last time, in that like I'd never been able to kind of measure wins or celebrate my successes. This was the first time in all of these that I really did that. I think because like this is the first time that these successes were for me.
Oh.
Like in the past, it was like, oh, I got these jobs, and maybe they were the job that I thought I really wanted, or that I thought looked good, right? Mm-hmm. But they weren't necessarily what I loved or what I really wanted. These ones were, I got the job that I wanted for me that made me happy.
Yeah.
Didn't make me, I mean, they did make me look good, obviously, but it
Yeah.
wasn't about how I would be perceived by others. It was about how I perceive myself.
Oh, I love that.
And I think that was the big change for me, and where like actually being able to celebrate this was there because it was something I wanted to celebrate. It wasn't something that I was like, okay, I did that. What's next? Moving on.
It's very funny you say that, because like for a lot of my life, I've always felt like there was like a checklist that I was just going down the list and checking one after the other.
Yeah.
And it took a very long time for me to ask myself the question, like, is this for me? Like, are these things that I want to be checking off a list?
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot of time and like years in life to like start asking yourself these important questions, like, are these things for me? Are these things I want? Are these things that have been just like pushed on me from a society perspective, like from just like an ingrained sociological perspective? Like, what are the reasons why I want to do these things? Yeah. And it takes like, not many people who, the hubris of youth are like thinking about, oh, like, is this for me? Like, do I want this? And it's like almost a nice reprieve as you get older, and you can start asking yourself those questions like, oh, do I want this job because I want to work at this organization, or because I like the money? Do I want this job because it aligns with my core values and like things that I am excited about, or I like the prestige or how it looks on my LinkedIn page? And it's like so much of life, we don't spend the time to ask those questions.
Yeah, I think when I was at ABC, it was like I was a graphic designer, and it was such a goal to become an art director, and then it was like I want to become a creative director, but I didn't even know what those jobs were until I was doing them.
Yeah.
I was very good at them, and I did like them, but it didn't really feel the same as that, because like it's part of Disney, obviously, and a lot of people love Disney. I liked Disney well enough, but I was never a big Disney fan.
You're not a Disney adult?
No, it's just never my thing. I liked the shows well enough, but it was just never my passion.
Sure.
Whereas getting a job at Adobe was like, I was a sixth grader with my first copy of Photoshop. I talked about it on the last podcast. We were on this podcast before I was interviewing at Adobe, and I was talking about how much I loved Adobe as a kid. Mm-hmm. So I'm like in sixth grade, and I'm playing with Photoshop, learning this stuff, and I was so excited about it. I talked about Premiere and starting that and learning like the editing on there. Like literally, there was like a little love letter to Adobe in our last talk.
Do you think you subconsciously manifested the opportunity?
I mean, maybe. But it's like that was like, it was 31 years ago that I started using these products. And I love them. They've been a part of my journey every step of the way. Mm-hmm. So when I got this job, it was so exciting to be like, I'm working at the place that literally helped pave the way for my whole path into art and creativity. So they send like a little welcoming gift, which was new to me because like in media, they don't really do that. But like with Adobe, they're like, oh, here's your like hoodie, your hat, you're like all this kind of like cool swag and whatever. And I'm like, I'm wearing it out to like go to the store or whatever. And I'm excited about it. Like, and when I worked at ESPN and ABC, like every once in a while, there'd be some merch that was at an event or whatever. And so you'd get it. But I wasn't like wearing it out because I wasn't, it wasn't that I wasn't proud of the brand or whatever. It was just like, I wasn't like, oh, this is cool. I love this. Yeah. Whereas like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to put on my Adobe hoodie. Like, this is cool. Like, I really like I love working for the company. It's just a cool place.
I think that's really nice. Like, I think there's been a big shift personally, like for me, like where I've like aligned my core work values with like what my life is. And like for a long time, it wasn't that way. And I didn't really love anything I was doing before, like say the last 5 years. And I really, really greatly appreciate someone who has like that unabashed love and admiration for the place that they work, because like for a long time, I never even knew what that was like. It was such a foreign concept to me. It's fucking like a really nice feeling. And it's like nice to not have to be like, oh, fuck, I got to go to work today. It's like, oh, sweet. I got something fun to do today. I have like something interesting, something new. It's like for so long, I never knew what that was like. And it similarly, it like took a long time to get there, but it's just such a rewarding experience to be part of something that like you like value, it has been such a huge part of your life for so long already.
Yeah. And it's really interesting for me because it's like, I went from where at Disney, no matter all the jobs that I had there, I was always working exactly in the field that I was passionate about. So it was always design I was creating for someone else.
Okay.
I didn't love that because while I had like autonomy over a lot of the stuff, it wasn't stuff I wanted to be doing per se. Here at Adobe now, I'm working with other companies, helping them with their creative like automations, AI implementations, all that stuff. So things that I'm passionate about, but my art is a separate thing too. So I'm able to kind of like help create how other places are going to use the tools, go back to Adobe and give them input on where the tools maybe need to be because of what clients want, where we think they are going to improve or whatever. But then still have my art, love, passion elsewhere. So that separation, I think, will help me where we talked about it a little bit last time that like I went through a period at Disney where I just stopped making art for a while. I just wasn't that into it because it felt like a job. Here, there's a little bit of separation, and I think like I'll hopefully, I mean, it's early, obviously, but I think hopefully I'll be able to keep this passion in both of the worlds and I'll just kind of keep going with them in a way that I think will just be more fun.
Absolutely. I think, do you know who Matt Day is? He's a YouTuber. He does a lot of product reviews. He's a Leica shooter, whatever. He shoots a lot of film. He's a great guy. I've been a big fan of his journey for a long time online. He's gone through a similar experience recently where he just got like a very, mundane 9-to-5 job just because like, he's like, listen, I'm like kind of burned out. I'm making 3 videos a week and like doing all this thing. It's like, I think in order to foster a stronger investment in my creativity and my love for it, I need to have that separation. Like I need to split my life into these 2 distinct options because for so long they were intertwined and like it just wasn't working for me anymore. And I think it's so hard, especially as a creative, because like I've struggled with this in the last 5 years, where it's like you need to 100%. The value of what you do as an artist is derived through the dollars that you earn doing it and nothing else. Right. And it's like we live in a society where it's no longer super feasible for you to have a single income from art or creation or whatever it is. So it's like for me, it's like it took a long time for me to figure that out. But like for everyone, it's like just we don't really live in that world anymore. It's few and far between of people who could do that. If you can create a safe space for yourself to be able to be financially stable, live comfortably, be happy, be content, it's going to foster a new profoundness in your creativity and your desire to create because you have these 2 worlds separated.
And I think what for me in this situation that takes it even to another level is I'm passionate about that space too, and it's still a creative space.
Absolutely.
Whereas like, yeah, you can get that in a completely mundane job or whatever that helps you pay to do, but then like you're working to live, right? Some people are working to live, some people are living to work. That's always that saying or whatever. But for me here, it's like, it's both. Like I love my work and then I love my art.
Yeah, same.
And I think by being able to have both spaces be something that I can be creative in, I can stretch my like thinking, like it's just it takes it to a whole nother level of like I happy from both of them.
I think what that really does touch upon is that this idea that like figuring out the things that are for you, because like so many people are just like not like taking time to like invest in themselves to figure out what it is that they're passionate about. And it's like we end up getting to this point in our late 30s or 40s where, we've got the house with the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the car and the dog and all these things. It's like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, am I happy? Like, am I wanting to be doing these things? It's such like a breath of fresh air because like I feel very, very aligned in life right now. Like I am doing everything I want to do. I'm like so wildly happy on a day-to-day basis. And it's like whether I'm working, whether I'm in the studio, whether I'm doing a podcast, whether I got a photo shoot, whether I'm working an event, whatever I'm doing, it's like I feel immensely fulfilled. It's like I spend a lot of time in my life not feeling that way. So it's just such a wild departure to feel that way. I'm curious. So like you have these like 2 distinct loves of your life, right? You have this job, which like you're just so wonderfully blessed to have like received. And like now you got this awesome gig and you're like, love it. You're passionate. When you get the job offer and then like you're standing in a gallery where like people are coming to see you, the work that you created, like your photos are on the wall, your book is on the table. Like talk to me about like what that feeling was like from like a soup to nuts kind of moment.
It was super fascinating because like doing it in Chicago, I don't have a base in Chicago, right? Like I have people in New York. Like I've got a mailing list of 100+ people that if I did a show here, not to say all of them would come, but like I would have people that I know that are there. In Chicago, I have this group that I'm like, I don't even know if anybody's going to show up because I don't know if they know who I am, right? Like I don't put my stuff out in Chicago. Obviously, the store is going to promote it, and there's some event stuff that will put it out. I was really taken aback by how many people actually showed up. The Beers and Cameras in Chicago actually did a photo walk that ended at my gallery space. Sweet. So that was really cool. It was a surprise to me. I didn't know they were going to do it, but it brought a ton of people in. So I got to give a little talk there and got a lot of questions on like what my thoughts were behind this, how I created some of the images, because they're some of them are uniquely either edited or just like the way that I shot wide open. People would have questions like, "Oh, is that a slow shutter? Is that wide?"
I had the same question, literally.
So I got that question a lot. Not one slow shutter
Yeah.
in the book or there. I don't think a single time. But there's some instances where I did stuff like shooting inside a cab with rain coming down on the window, so like that would cause this like up close look, and I'm focusing kind of further away, so it added these kind of like weird things that looked like slow shutters that weren't.
Yeah.
But I got to explain that stuff, which was kind of fun there. It was a really cool experience, because you just got people who were passionate about this, and I think it was really fascinating talking to people who had no idea necessarily who I was going in, because they're coming in, they're like, oh, he must be pretty good if he's got a gallery show, right? Like, yeah. So there's like an expectation that like, I'm not like terrible at it or something, right. But they don't really necessarily know the work.
Yeah.
So they're coming in and they're experiencing it there, and it was cool. I was a pre-release of the book, so I think I only had 10 copies with me or whatever that I was selling signed, but we sold out of the book in space there for an opening of the night. It was that was pretty cool. People wanted it. They wanted signed copies and that. I'm like, all right, cool. Going in where I'm like, I don't know if one person's going to show up. It worked out really nicely, and that was it was a cool way to, like you said, to validate you on like that, like, okay, yeah, what I'm doing actually does resonate with somebody else. Because we've talked about this before. Like I create my work for me, and I actually have a quote in the book where it's like, I believe an artist really loses themselves when they no longer create for themselves.
Ooh.
When they're starting to create for someone else. And I think that's true of like musicians, photographers, any kind of artist. The moment that you're like chasing that, what that A&R rep wants or whatever, and you're like, this hits, so I'm going to do it again. And I think that's when people start to get their style. They were always talking about like how like you have to find your style or whatever. Yeah. And I often think that's like that's what holds people back. It handcuffs you from actually doing great work. Like I always go back to like look at the Rolling Stones or the Beatles or the Beastie Boys, even like listen to their music on different albums. Like they don't have the same style. Like, yeah, I know it's the band because there's some similarities, but like there are a vast range of different types of music that's being explored here.
I think that's a beautiful thing about art. It's like, the person that I am creating today is different than the person that started. Like, not just like take aside from like technical abilities and like knowledge, but like the things that I am like passionate about creating has changed tremendously. When you do a show, right? Like you've had a success, you like had a show, you have a book, like you've sold copies, like you've done these things. Like, how much pressure or lack thereof do you feel about the next thing?
So it was funny. I was talking to Paris, who helped me curate the book. As I'm doing the curation with her on this, I'm like, oh, I really want to talk to you about the next one. And she's like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, I've got an idea for like what the next one's going to be. And I'm like, no, let's stay focused or like whatever here. But like I was already onto it because like it's just how my mind works. Like I'm always like thinking about things. And now I've decided that like I'm pretty certain I'm going to make this into a trilogy where it's like Finding Focus is the first of 2 more shows that I'll do.
Got it.
Maybe I'll Star Wars it like 20 years later and do another 3 prequels to this or something.
Hopefully the prequels are not bad.
Yeah, I'll hire like you to come in and direct one of them. Like we'll do that. But no,
with really bad CGI.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be a whole AI show of like my photos that were before those photos. Like,
exactly.
Well, maybe something like that'll happen. But no, I kind of got this idea because of what I was exploring. And I'll tell you, like for the next one, which isn't really like I've started flagging some images, but I'm not very far under it because obviously this show is still going. Anybody who's in Chicago, feel free to go to Tamarkin. It'll be up for at least another month. And I don't know, maybe I'll take it elsewhere as well. But the next one, I really want to explore my infrared work, and because it's like from going to like finding my focus or not finding in some ways to kind of like finding this unseen light that you have in infrared and like really looking through that, and then
so you don't necessarily feel pressure for the next thing, you feel excitement for it.
Yeah, I don't and like our mutual friend Kieran was asking me, she was like, oh, where do you think you'll try to go for like a next show or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know. I could go back to Mark and I could try to go somewhere else. I could even like see myself just being like, one of the nice parts about having a job that does afford you a lifestyle is like, I could just rent a space and do my own gallery show
Fuck
there.
yeah.
Which would be cool because then I can do it exactly as I want. I can
Yeah.
do as many prints. I can put them around. I can build the space how I want. And I think that stuff kind of really excites me about it because then I'm less constrained by what I'm doing with it. And I don't look at it as for the most part, to demystify some of this, like a gallery show doesn't make anybody any money, right? Like
sure.
a book doesn't make anybody any money. A lot of people, young people especially, think like, oh, I'm going to do a book, I'm going to do a gallery show, I'll sell all this stuff. Like it costs a lot of money to do it.
Yeah.
Most people will lose money on that experience. At best, you're going to break even or make a few $100. Maybe 1,000 is like best case scenario for the majority of people. Like, yes, there's the Tyler Shields of the world who's going to sell $50,000 prints and do well. And hopefully one day I'll be doing that and that'd be amazing. But the reality is like you're usually doing it to like because it's something you want to do or to get yourself out there or whatever. So in that sense, it's like I already know I'm coming from that space where it's like this is not going to be making money or it's going to make very little if it does. But if I don't have to be in a space where it has to break even like I can lose a little bit on it, then that opens up how I can do it to what I want to do.
I think that's such an important thing that you've touched on because like this idea of like commercial success and creativity has been something I've struggled a lot with because like there is so much to be said for the fact that you made a book.
Yeah.
There's so much to be said about the fact that you have a gallery show. It doesn't matter what the sales numbers are. You did the thing. Like that is the win. That is the victory. And it's like so easy because of this like social media world or whatever the fuck it is that it's like it's predicated solely on what the sales numbers are. And it's like that's such like a capitalistic bullshit mindset. It's like doing the thing is the victory. That is the success. It's not that I sell 100 prints or 100 books. It's that I fucking made the book, that I did the show. And it's like really hard, I think, for people to understand that like that is the win, that is the success. That's how you measure that, right? Like it's so foreign because it's like everything in our life is boiled down to dollars and cents.
Well, it's interesting because like I did when I was originally putting together ideas for the show, I talked a little bit to Paris and kind of picked her brain on stuff because I was like, and I asked her what sells, it wasn't necessarily because I was going to pick images that would sell. Honestly, I wasn't even certain whether I was going to sell the prints or not because it's optional whether I was even going to put them up for sale. But the reason I'd asked the question was if I was going to put together the idea of like, these are large prints that people may or may not look at and be like, oh, I'd love to have that on my wall. I kind of wanted to know what people like to look at.
Great.
Not necessarily like, oh, it's for how much would they spend on it, but like if you're putting it on your wall, that means you like to look at it multiple times.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of getting into that's kind of like that marketing mindset of like what drives the person to look at something and want to keep looking at it. So I wanted every image to be something that people are like, oh yeah, I would put that on my wall. Whether they will buy it and put it on their wall or not was irrelevant to me, but I wanted to choose images with that. So where like I do a lot of portraiture work, as you do too, I kind of threw out most of the idea of portraiture work being in the show because anything with like a face that's very clearly visible, people don't overly want someone else's face on their wall. They don't want to look. They might be like, oh, that's a cool image, great, and move on from it. But they don't generally keep looking at it forever.
Yeah.
It's got to speak to them in some certain way. So I kind of like I use that as kind of a guide for myself of like, what is going to resonate with me and my story, but also speak to people because at some point, like, yes, I am doing it entirely for myself, as I said before, but you also want people like, what's the point in putting it on a wall in a gallery and in a book if people are like, oh, this is not something that speaks to me, like,
So what did she say? I'm very curious. Like,
faces. Like she was like, we don't sell. I mean, I was never really looking at like putting nudes out there, but like she was like, nudes really are very challenging to sell. Most people don't want a picture of a nude woman or whatever on their wall.
Yeah.
So she was like, that's very challenging in a gallery space. And a lot of like just like a picture of a person or whatever. Not always, but in a lot of cases is not what best sells. It's like I think that not her. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but like I think when somebody's like looking away from the camera or walking away from it or whatever, it would sell better than somebody just directly in front of the camera. Like, because it's like when somebody's walking away or their face isn't there, it's like, oh, that could be anyone. That could
Right.
be me. That could be my whoever. Once you have somebody's face right there and it's in perfect, sharpness or whatever, now it's that person. Now I have a picture of this person, and people are looking at me. Oh, is that like your family member? Like, why do you have a portrait of
Yeah.
so and so in your house? That's a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, I have collected photos like that, but like I think from a street photography perspective, not necessarily like a portraiture perspective. I haven't bought a lot of portraiture work. I own some street photography stuff and documentary style photo prints, but like I kind of get that. So when you're curating the show before you you have that conversation, so you intentionally drive what you're putting on the wall around what would have the potential to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know that I don't know that I drove what I was putting on the wall by that. I think that my original selection when I went to the 50 images, I was mindful of that.
Okay, fair.
So I don't think, I'd have to look back exactly if maybe one or two were in there. There might have been, but I don't think I really had any kind of direct on. There's definitely a shot in the book of I think there's one that you can kind of clearly see somebody's face, maybe two. There's actually Paris in there at one point, but they're blurred. They're out of focus in that area because the book is all about that finding the focus part.
Yeah.
So you're not really getting that where you're like, oh, that is that person. You can kind of touch it, but it's not really 100% there.
Got it. So you did have some desire for a commercial viability, just a little. A little.
It wasn't no. I think as I said, it was something that I asked about. I wanted to learn about, and then it's there. It's in the back of my head. So is it then influencing part of my thoughts? Yeah, probably. Look, when I worked at Disney and we were making tiles for Hulu or whatever, it would be oh, faces, people click those more, right? That was something we learned, right?
Interesting.
So just having a landscape of a background of a room or whatever would not get as many views as if it was a big picture of somebody's face, whether they knew who the person was or not. People click it more. So yeah, that would drive our tile imagery, right? Because we're oh, somebody's going to like that more. Did I look through every image and go, is this one going to sell? No, absolutely not.
Yeah, fair.
But I took that knowledge and I was okay, that's something to file away in the back of my head. And then when I'm selecting, of course, it probably influenced in a certain way. But no, I was never let's do this one instead of that one because this one could sell. That was never a part of the pick.
Sure, fair.
There's only probably 4, so maybe 6 images of people of the 20 that are in there. Most of them are more just scenic stuff. But I didn't really think about that one way or the other. They could have been 20 images of people. It was just, this is how the story fell together. It felt right.
Yeah. Was this your first show? Was this
yes.
Yeah, it was.
First book, first show.
When you check off that's a big item on the checklist, right?
Yeah.
Do you take stock? I feel like I've gotten to know you pretty well over the last year. I feel like maybe you hadn't or didn't or wouldn't.
In the past, I absolutely didn't. And this was interesting because I remember about 2.5 years ago when I got back into photography and doing this, I was and I was at such a weird low point in my life where I'm I don't even know how much of my life is in front of me. I went through a lot of stuff. But I was I want to these were things I wanted to accomplish in the rest of my life, not in the next 2.5 years, but by the time it's all said and done, I want to have a gallery show and a book out there, right? So yeah, this was a big deal to me. It certainly meant a lot. I would say that was probably the biggest accomplishment of my life, and I think I did acknowledge that. I put a lot of thought into that and what that actually meant to me to do, and it's an interesting one because it's they weren't things I thought about when I was younger because I was more into filmmaking at that point. So these are accomplishments that became goals in the past 2.5 years for me. But it's also I set this kind of goal 2.5 years ago and now accomplished it, right? It's interesting. It's thinking about your success and letting it sit and being happy with it and not moving on. But whereas yes, I am thinking about a next show or a third show or whatever after it, but I'm not letting that second or third one stop me from enjoying this one. Right?
That's great. That's really great. It's so funny because like I am one of those people where it's like I find it hard to like celebrate my wins.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if it feels like just a narcissistic thing to celebrate my wins or like what it feels like, but like every time I accomplish something, I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Like, can I like stand up and like jump on this table and be like, dude, I fucking did that. Like I did that thing. Like I think it's really important that we like take time to like really take stock and appreciate our wins. And it's like so much of it's I think I know what it is. There's so much about social media about like people celebrating themselves on a daily basis that when you actually have something worth celebrating, not just like the eggs that you cooked this morning, which I'm guilty of, or the pasta dish that you made, right? Like an actual celebratory thing. It's like it just feels like it gets lost in the mix.
I think for me with this one specifically was this is the first time that I felt that I'd earned the success that I had.
Really?
Right? Like, I don't know that, like, you know, it's like, obviously, like, I earned promotions and stuff by being good at my job or whatever. But I guess there was maybe some part of me that was like, you know, like, it just, like, it happened or whatever. With this, like, this one was like, and it felt like something like, it was like the art that I was working on, it was a part of me, right? Like, you get a promotion at work, you're promoted for what you do, right? This was a success based on who I am, right? So it's like, this is my art. And like, you know, look, there's plenty of photographers who are not necessarily like bleeding into like their art into their photography. They go out and they capture a document or whatever. And they bleed in their own way. Like, I don't mean to knock that, but it's a little bit of a different way of creating. And so this was all like a very personal thing for me. It's like every photo meant something to me. I look at those and there's a feeling in me, whether it is in you when you look at them or not, it's irrelevant. But like for me, they all mean something. Pretty much every photo I take means something to me. Otherwise, I don't take them, right? So this was a part of me, and it's like that's a different level of being able to like literally validate yourself because you're like, again, not what I did, who I am. And I think that's a really big differentiator for me to be able to celebrate, because this is like, okay, yeah, I accomplished that. I worked hard, but everybody works hard and they get to something and it's like, okay, like what did I do? I put in some time. This isn't about putting in some time. This is about expressing who I am and then being able to take that and have somebody actually want to put it on their walls. And I remember like when Dan put it up, he was like, oh yeah, I want to, can we keep this up for a few months? Like these are really cool. He's like, we usually get black and white photos. These are in color. He's like, I really like these. Like it's different. Like this really looks beautiful. Like it is. And it was nice to hear that from other people, be like excited about the work.
Yeah. I struggle getting compliments, right? It's like, I'm like really bad at it. It is nice when you're validated for your passion and love for something and it's recognized in someone else. And when it's someone who wants to share that with other people, it's so much deeper than that, right? It's like, okay, like this thing that I'm so incredibly passionate and love is like, makes sense to other people too. Yeah. It's like, wow, fuck yeah, I'm going to keep doing this. And like, it keeps going.
There was a woman at the show that was like so excited that she bought the first book. She's like, oh, I've got your first book with the first print from the book in here. Like I signed them both and wanted them signed. I had one guy who bought the book and I'd signed the book for him. And he came back the next day to the photo walk with his print. And he was like, can you sign the print too? And I'm like, of course. Yeah, I'd love to. You know, so it was like people actually like cared about the work enough for that. And, you know, again, it's not why I did it. I was like, oh, I don't know. I was going there with $10. I was like, I don't know if I'll sell a book. Who knows? But we'll try.
It's like I said earlier. It's not the outcome. It's not like the dollars and cents of it. It's the fucking. It's that. It's those conversations. It's those people who like are like giving you the desire to keep going, right? Like because so much about this is like getting beat on and shit on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. It's like take the wins and like fucking run with them. Like that's awesome. Yeah. I'm very, very curious. How long do you think that this feeling can sustain?
Hopefully forever.
You know? I mean, that's nice. I'm like pragmatic about it because like I'm very curious. Like I feel like I get this like transient feeling when like I have a success. It's like, oh, that was great, but now I'm on to the next thing. Like this is like such a deeply strong validation of who you are as a person and as an artist.
I think because it it is so different. It's impossible for me to know because I've never actually experienced something in this kind of way. I'm hoping that is why it won't ever necessarily fully go away. I guess my bigger hope is that it doesn't get me into a headspace of being like, oh, I deserve shows and I get this, like where I get too big of an ego on it or whatever.
I'm not worried about that.
But I mean, it does do that to a lot of people where
Sure.
they get it and they're like, well, I've had a show, I've had a like whatever, and I don't ever want to become that kind of person. So
I think being worried about that is very indicative of the fact that you won't be. So yeah,
probably
people who are not worried about that become those people.
I guess that's fair, but you know, I think like, look, my hope is that it stays with me long enough until the next one where
Then you just feed
I'll
off
have it,
on
and
that one.
I'll just be chasing it. It's like
Yeah.
this is my I'm just chasing the shows, you know.
Yeah.
Like, but I think it's the truth. It's like you know the Tom Petty song, "The Waiting."
Yeah.
So that's always been a song I really love because like I've always been a person like you know back when I worked in control rooms and stuff like I would thrive in that like stressful environment. And it was like the waiting between that, you know, like it was like the feeling of love, whether it's in a relationship or at work or whatever, where like you feel fully at your best self is when I'm at my best because duh. And it's like the waiting between those moments is the hardest part.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that, but a lot of people think that song is like a love song, but it's actually not. He's singing about being on the stage performing.
Oh.
That's what that song is about, like how waiting between each concert performance is the hardest part of his life. He's like, so he's using it like he's kind of singing like towards a woman, like it sounds like that, but it's actually he's talked about it where it's really about the performance, and that really resonates with me because it's like, yeah, when I was there, when I was doing that show, I felt like it's almost out of body like experience. Like I felt like my best self. So it's like, yeah, that's the drug, right? Like it's like, okay, I gotta get back to that moment. So when do I do it? It's like I did that, you know, event at B&H the other day. It's like when I'm up there and I'm on stage and I'm performing. I mean, it is performance. I say performing, but it's you know, showing people lighting and answering their questions and do that. I feel my best self in those spaces. Same as like what's why I shoot, but with models and stuff, and I'll do so much TFP shoots and whatever. It's like I love being in that space of creating, and it's the moments in between that are the hardest part for me. It's like I need to get back to that moment. That's the nice part about this job is where the job feels like that moment too. So then it's like, okay, now I have a sustained work of 40-ish, you know, whatever hours a week doing that moment, and then like, you know, how do I fill it out in the rest of my life, and then also have a personal life too.
Yeah.
Hardest part is for me is like finding a personal life in with all this stuff.
I totally agree with that. Like one of the things that I think is funny, like for a long time I was like, oh, I'm so worried I'm going to burn out because I'm doing all this work and then all this photography and then all these podcasts. Like when it's at some point I'm going to crash, and it's like never happened. And I think it's because like work-life balance is not really a thing when you love everything you're doing.
Yes.
Like I'll wake up at fucking 6 o'clock in the morning to come here and do a podcast because I love this.
Yeah.
This is like my therapy. This is like the things that like really jazz me up for like the next week or month or whatever, right? And similarly with photo shoots, like, oh, I might shoot 3 times next week or I might shoot 0.
Right.
But like the opportunities to do such is so rewarding that it doesn't feel like work.
And it's become interesting to me because I've become friends with so many of the people I've shot with or whatever. It's like where you start to bleed these lines of like, now this is like your personal life, your friendships are there. Like when I go to all these photo events, like hanging out with you, we've become friends. Like we started here, this was a work thing, right?
Yeah.
It's you doing your job. It's me promoting myself and talking to you or whatever. But now we've become friends. We're going out and doing something. It's like, so there is this kind of like blurred line of like what one is to the next. I have so many friends in this industry now because of going to events that were for networking.
Yeah, I think that's actually kind of nice too, because like it's cool to be part of a community and like people are like-minded and they're passionate about the same things. Because like, you know, like back in the day when I was working at XYZ company, it's like we didn't have like, you know, community.
Right.
You were my coworker.
Right, exactly.
We were like maybe friends, but like, you know, I wasn't like this. It wasn't like there was no community aspect. We weren't like passionate about things outside of the job. It was the job which were like dictated the like personal interactions, etc. And it's nice when you
I wasn't
like,
harassing you to buy more camera equipment,
right.
you know. Like
Yeah.
that wasn't part of it.
Yeah, no, you do harass me to buy more camera equipment. I feel like
exactly.
my bank account is negatively affected by talking to you on a daily basis.
For sure. Yeah. I do what I can.
But yeah, no, it's like I say it a lot because like I feel like I found like a new tribe. Like it's one of those things where it's like I didn't know that I had this passions for so long. And then when you stumble into it and you find something, you're like, whoa, it's awesome. All these people feel the same way about me. It's like you go to a gallery show. I went to a talk at the Leica store a couple weeks ago talking about Jim Marshall and Grateful Dead and like seeing all these amazing photos. You were there too, obviously. And it's like getting to like expand who I know and what I know is awesome. It's such a beautiful thing. It's like I feel like I was like in a little bubble for so long.
Well, it's been so big for me because it's like when I went through the layoffs or whatever, I had like Mark Mann and I were very close friends. Like go over and hang out with him. And it's like I had a support system there with him. Minxie White I would run into all the time, and like she would be so supportive of me, and that was like it was so helpful at a time where like I didn't know what was next for me or whatever. Where I was going to go, but I had these people that are like, well, you're great at what you do. Like this is an opportunity for you to create and do this, and like hearing like supportive things from like Mark Mann and Minxie White, who are like they're fantastic,
wildly successful. Yeah,
they're very successful in this. So like when people like that are being supportive of you, it really elevates like your own like sense. Like okay, yeah, I will be okay.
Yeah.
And you only get that from becoming like if it was just networking or whatever, and you're just there for that. Like that's not how people are.
Yeah.
Like you become this community, as you said, and I think that's really special aspect of it.
Oh, totally. I mean, I was in Virginia last week or the week before for my buddy Dean's first gallery show. And it's like, it's nice to like, I'll steal a line from Kieran. I'm sure she said this at some point. It's like to shine a light on someone and the thing that they love and the thing that they spend a lot of time and effort creating. It's like, it's nice to like kind of reciprocate and just show them the love back because like you invest so much energy into this thing. It's like that book was a labor of love. You might have waited till the last minute to make it, but like, you fucking spent years and years and years developing that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the actual like putting print to page wasn't as long as, but like it's just a different way of process. It's like that's people work different ways.
But it's like
it was years.
Getting the opportunity to shine the light onto the fact that you like did this awesome thing is the least that we as your friends and your community can do. It's like I don't need to be told that I'm the best at anything. Like I know I'm great. Like I don't need to be.
Oh, I need to be told I'm the best.
Do you?
Actually, yeah. Do you mind? Or you? No, the best. I need to be the best.
No, but in all seriousness, it's like one of those things where it's like I don't need that, but like you realize like when you get it from other people, it's like it's like a validation to like all of the hard work. It's like the hours that I spend here are worthwhile. When someone reaches out to shoot with me, it's like, oh, it's because they like appreciate that I put effort into this and I'm like doing something that I love. And like, I don't think you can put a dollar figure on that. I really don't.
Yeah, no, it's like one of the models that I work with was telling me during Fashion Week that like they were, talking to a couple of other models or whatever, and they're looking at each other's profiles, and they were like, "Oh, you shot with AVW Pictures," and there were like 5 of them like that were like walking around like talking about that, and like she came back and told me that, and I was like, that felt like so good. They were like, "Oh, can you get me in with him?" And I'm like. I'm sitting here. I'm thinking, like, just DM me. Like, it's fine. Like, I'll shoot with, as long as I can work it out time wise or whatever. Like, I'll shoot with pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
As long as we're on the same page of what we want to do creatively. But they were all like the idea that like there's this like group of people that were out there like working out in the industry or whatever, and they were like excited, and they're like, oh my god, you're so lucky you shot with it or whatever. And you shot with them a couple. Oh my god, like it was so cool to hear that.
I think a lot of people like think it's like. Not harder than it is, but like, there's like this chasm between creator and like model that like, guys, like we just want to create beautiful things together. It's like, there's not like this, like there's no gatekeeping. It's not like I'm like, no,
well, but
you're not worthy.
I think it's also part of the world of like where a lot of photographers try to reach out to models, and the models are like, that'll be $800 or whatever.
Sure.
Price.
Yeah.
And same vice versa, where a lot of models will reach out to a photographer and they'll be like, well, I only work for pay or whatever. And maybe they're not at, like one of them isn't necessarily at the state of their life where they can do that. So then they're like, oh, you got that. How'd you get them to work and do this without charging or whatever?
Yeah.
So I do think that kind of changes things for a lot of the people.
Yeah, it's weird because there are people that don't charge at all for what they do, and then there are people who charge thousands of dollars for what they do. It's like, so it's like tough to figure out.
And there's the in between, the people
totally.
who mix obviously and do some and others, but. So I think it just goes both ways with that.
Yeah, no, but that's a validation in and of itself. Like, I love getting messages when people like, oh, like I love your work. I would love to shoot with you. I was like, yeah, that's great. Let's do that. Like, I love that. Like, what's better than that? Literally nothing. Yeah, no, it's great. I'm curious. So, like the show's up for another month.
Yeah.
What's the plan when the timeline is up? Are you going to try to put it in somewhere else, preferably somewhere closer to New York and New Jersey, or like?
You know, like obviously, like a lot of the shots are based in New York. I think there's maybe one that I took in LA, but it's so yeah. Ideally, I don't know though. It's like it's kind of
Whatever happens, happens.
yeah. It's like I've been kind of letting it happen for me. Am I going to actively like go around to gallery spaces and try and sell it? I don't know. It might be more whatever
If it
happens
comes across,
with it.
yeah.
It's like does it resonate with somebody? Maybe I'll do my own kind of thing here. It's I gotta really think about it. I guess it's still up there at least. We said it would be at least till the end of October. I don't actually know what we don't have an end date as of today. So I'm not sure when exactly it ends that I'll get the prints to even bring it up. But yeah, I think it's something I have to think about a little bit. And you know, decide from there. But I have gotten a lot of people who've said like, "Oh, I'd love to go to it. I just couldn't make it to Chicago or whatever," which is totally understandable. I was not expecting all these people to fly out to Chicago for me, but you know, so I think it'd be cool to do it, but it's not really what drives me to take the same show and do the same thing. I like to do different things. So then it's like I'll have to kind of ask myself, am I doing this for other people or am I doing it for myself? And will it really be the same if I just take the same thing and do it here? Am I just looking for people to see how many people would show up in New York? That doesn't drive me to do it.
That's interesting. You know? I have a very pragmatic question. So there's 20 prints in the gallery right now. What is like they're one of ones, they're one of fives, they're one of
They're
tens?
all one of ones, mainly because I printed them myself and I just printed one
Yeah.
of them. I didn't really think much past that. I was like, well, if we get a lot of like people coming in that are very interested in buying, then maybe I would
do an edition.
Make them as an edition then, just maybe keep these and do an edition for the sale or whatever.
Got it.
But yeah, it was more just like, okay, what are these prints going to look like? Are they going to be on the wall? And I was just thinking of it as that. So as of now, they're one of one. And I've done like with the book and whatever I'll do, I have like different levels of like, oh, here's a book that's just by itself. Here's a signed book. And then here's one with like a small print or whatever.
Oh, nice.
So I've done, and I did an edition of, I did one size that was with the first edition that I sold at Markin, and then a different size that I'm selling on my website or whatever. So those have additions to them, but they're like artist prints basically.
Yeah, I find that fascinating. Just the whole idea of like what goes into the print run, like, you know, what's the number of edition? Are they limited? Like one of one? What, you know? Yeah. I find that stuff wildly interesting. As someone who's never, I mean, I've hung pictures places before, but it was like a coffee shop. It wasn't like,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, then that's an interesting thing because a lot of people have asked me about, especially like younger people that have come to my events, or whatever. They'll ask about like, how do you get into a gallery show or that or whatever. And there is this kind of confusion on like what even is a gallery show, because like everything's called a gallery show. Like when people they're like it's a, you know, like Peak does their gallery shows at the store, or a wine store will do like, oh, we have a gallery store here, and like those are cool, and you talk to the owner and maybe get some space there, and that's usually how they go about that. What they literally print them or you print them, and that's like just, you know, just going straight guerrilla marketing. You go in there, find somebody, and see if they'll hang your stuff, and that's cool. But what we're talking about when we're talking about a gallery here is like where they have a gallery curator, and you have to actually pitch a show to them, and they have like, most of them actually have a client list of like, they use the same group of people in there, and it's actually something you have to get into.
Well, that's why I was asking about the print stuff, because I didn't know if it was the gallery that did the prints.
So that makes a big difference, and some of them do. With these, it was we could have gone either way. Most of the Leica stores, I believe, like they will do either way. It depends on if the artist does, or they don't do the prints themselves, but they'll work with a printer.
Right.
And same with framing. It's like they can either do that or that. In this case, Dan had frames, so it was like, and his frames matched my print size. Now, what I did do was, he was like, his frames didn't have matting on them, so I printed in a mat, like, right. Yeah. So it's like I had a white border around the prints because I wanted them to look that way.
Yeah.
So that would also be different with like, if I was aiming to sell those, I don't know if I would necessarily print them with
matting,
the mat, or
matting.
I would probably buy actual matting for it. So that's where these were more of like an artist print for the wall for that specific framing situation. I wasn't gonna. He already had frames that were the exact size, so I wasn't gonna buy all new frames or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
That's a bigger expense
for
that
sure,
I didn't
yeah.
have to do.
Frames are so fucking expensive.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
so that was a big cost savings to use what he had there.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. So like when you like look into the like what the next iteration of this is, like the second phase, like we're not going to drop the name or anything, but like so you do this next thing. Will you do like similar print runs, like the same kind of one-on-one kind of situation, or is like
It's I think the next one will be interesting. Sorry, in that because it's going to be based on infrared shooting, I think that opens up a different interest in what people might actually look to purchase, because those are like unique worlds, right? Like that might so I might actually even do like a larger prints for that in some like
you mean size?
yes, exactly. Whereas for this one I did all the same size, like everything was the same size, and just you went across the room and you could see everything there. But it was also like everything was that's how the story fit. In infrared you're in this kind of more organic world of like it's what you can't see that you're seeing. So I think I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit more and think about the presentation. Whereas like this book for Finding Focus, everything is the same, and it's like two images together. They're bookended. There's one in the front, one in the back, but everything else is by twos. And that all kind of had its flow to it. Whereas I think the flow for this one will be a little bit different. So yeah, and I like I said, I think there might be more interest in like a very large print, whereas it might have been a few in the Finding Focus that people would want to print a large print of, but I think for the most part they were right the way they were.
Nice.
Infrared I'm doing medium format, so I can print a lot larger.
Sure. I think like we're talking at like a really cool time in the year because we're in November and it's like the end of the year is coming up, and then I find myself constantly looking forward and like what's on like the next horizon for me, like in 2026, and like what does my career look like, and what does my photography look like, what does this podcast look like. When you kind of like step into this last couple months of the year, like do you find yourself like goal setting? Do you find yourself like making plans? Like how does like your end of the year into like a new year kind of like evolve?
It's interesting. I've never really been a big like New Year's resolution guy or thought about that. I have always done, or not always, but like last few years I've done birthday resolutions.
Oh.
My birthday is January 21st, so
that's my brother's birthday.
Look at that.
That's wild.
So it's it's pretty soon after New Year's, but I would set that, and I started that when I turned 40, like to be like, okay, I'm going to do resolutions, and I've oddly always picked like a quote from David Bowie to like live off of or whatever. So that's kind of been like my time period of that. But a lot of them have been so like the last big one I did, for example, was Bowie had spoken about how for an artist to truly reach like their highest potential, they've got to be like, imagine yourself in the water moving towards the deep end. And once you get to that space where your feet can't touch the ground anymore, that's when you can truly create your best work.
Ooh.
And so I tried to take that on and be like, okay, I'm gonna, as much as I can, live in that space where my feet can't touch the ground, right?
Yeah.
So it's like create the things that I'm maybe a little bit afraid or uncertain of to create. And that was when I also started like share like my music on my pages and stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna put myself out there, be vulnerable, like things that I would keep just to myself. So I that's like my way of doing it, but it's not necessarily goal setting and like oh, I need to do X, Y, or Z.
Sure.
I don't want to limit myself in that. Like,
Ooh, love that.
I think if I was like, oh, I need to finish this book by X date or whatever, the next show will be by this time, then that kind of stops me from necessarily picking up the things along the way. I might be too focused on that, and I don't want to find my focus.
I see what you did
see what
there.
I did there? Yeah. By the way, you can get my Finding Focus book at my. But,
there will be a link in the show notes.
But
I think that's a really beautiful thing, honestly, dude, because I like the metaphor a lot. Like just being just comfortable enough to give yourself like that little bit of spring to be able to like see what else is out there, but then also like you have that fear of of drowning. Like, so it's
Yeah.
like you're pushing yourself to the limit of like what is possible and what isn't possible. And like, that's a beautiful kind of analogy of like how you should like treat your life. And I think that's really nice. Dude, I'm obviously a big fan of you as a human being. We've become pretty good friends over the last year, and I'm greatly appreciative of your time, and thank you so much for coming back on the podcast and talking about all the great stuff that you've got going on. Obviously, you're part of my family, and can't wait to do this again with you next year. And yeah, man, have a great rest of your day.
Oh, thanks so much. I hope I can be like the Norm Macdonald to your Conan O'Brien, where
That'd be great.
I'll be on here like twice every season, and just harass you
I'm into it.
about things. So
Sold.
that's my goal on this.
Say less. Sidekick in starting now.
Excellent.
Thanks, man. Take it easy.